So today I'm going to be changing things up a bit. Rather than me talking about some viral YouTube video or meme from like 10 years ago, I'm going to be talking about a meme that's relatively new and will most likely be at its peak or just past it by the time this video comes out. It's a meme that has grabbed my attention not only because of its popularity online and mainstream media coverage, but also for its ability to amalgamate several different meme sources and formats into one rather hilarious package. I'm talking about the recent explosion of the Storm Area 51 meme. By now I'd imagine you've certainly seen some variant of this tongue-in-cheek meme floating around on social media. The concept is simple. We all band together on a specific day and storm the notorious Area 51 military base located in the Nevada desert in the hopes of discovering all the secret advanced military technology and alien life forms sealed within its walls. And of course, this is all just a big joke, right? Well, this is one of those rare circumstances where a meme finds itself leaking out of the internet and finds its presence being felt in the real world.
A lot of folks are taking the internet-fueled idea of storming Area 51.
So how did all of this happen? Why is all of a sudden everybody and their grandma trying to storm Area 51? What caused the decades-old mystery surrounding the secret military base to come back into vogue seemingly overnight? Well, today I'm going to try to get to the bottom of this situation and tell you guys the story of how this meme got launched into orbit. But first, I gotta ask you something very important. Are you planning on enlisting as a Naruto runner in the up-and-coming Area 51 raid? If so, that's great, but in order for the cover not to get blown on our whole operation here, you guys gotta make sure when you're using the internet sharing battle plans and Area 51 memes that you're protected by a VPN. And there's no better VPN to mask your IP. If a website ever becomes a country and gain access, companies like Google and of them selling off VPN because I want to stay. It's a good idea to have a VPN on board anyways. The service is less than $7 a month and click the link plan. That's expressvpn.com/wavywebserve, so make sure you guys check that out. And anyways, on to the Area 51 story. Interestingly, the creation of this Storm Area 51 meme can be indirectly traced back to none other than Joe Rogan and his Joe Rogan Experience podcast.
Did you see that guy accidentally hit that moose with his car?
On June 20th of 2019, a new episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast was uploaded to YouTube. In this particular episode, there were two guests invited to the show. These guests were filmmaker Jeremy Corbell and conspiracy theorist and self-proclaimed physicist Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar in particular is rather famous for his claim to have worked at a secret lab called S4, which is found within a close proximity of Area 51. For decades, Lazar has claimed that the government had commissioned an operation to reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology at this S4 lab. He claims during his time at S4, a project was underway to develop an anti-gravity reactor which was to be used for aircraft propulsion, and also claims to have been shown 9 flying saucers stored within a secret hangar. During this episode of the podcast, Bob Lazar tells his insane story, and in my opinion, it made for a pretty captivating episode. And it seems like I wasn't the only one who enjoyed it, because the Bob Lazar episode ended up going viral on YouTube, accruing close to 6.5 million views as of today, making it the 11th most viewed Joe Rogan Experience episode of all time. The popularity of the Bob Lazar Joe Rogan episode would cause a temporary spike in the overall interest of UFOs, aliens, and Area 51 conspiracy theories on the internet, and would work to sow the seeds which would later grow into this meme. So now enter 20-year-old Bakersfield, California resident Matty Roberts. This man is responsible for taking the foundation laid by Rogan and crew and really getting the Storm Area 51 gag off the ground. The story goes that after watching the Bob Lazar Joe Rogan Experience episode, Matty Roberts was inspired to create an Area 51 related meme for his Facebook meme page. The meme he would create came in the form of a Facebook event and was rather humorously titled Storm Area 51, They Can't Stop All of Us. This event was published under the meme page in which Matty admined called Shitposting 'Cause I'm in Shambles. Maddie's friend Smiley-kun is also listed as a co-host for the event. Scheduled to take place on September 20th of 2019, the description of the event states, "We will all meet up at the Area 51 Alien Center tourist attraction and coordinate our entry. If we Naruto run, we can move faster than their bullets. Let's see them aliens." The Storm Area 51 event page on Facebook would begin to gain steam in the days after it being posted, and would reach over 200,000 confirmed attendees within a couple of weeks. It's important to note though, in the first couple weeks after this event page being posted, Storm Area 51 hadn't become this giant crossover meme that it is today. Rather, it was just another rendition of an old recurring gag that you see on Facebook where a user creates a spoof event for comedic purposes. But something about Storm Area 51 was different. There was something inherently funny about the concept of banding together with thousands of people from across the globe and Naruto running at the perimeter of Area 51 to unlock the secrets of the classified compound. Yeah, it's completely absurd, but this thing was destined to be a massive meme literally the moment it was thought up. In the comment section of this event, people would become ironically invested in the idea of storming Area 51, and you started to see meme-laced battle plans being drafted, which detailed the hypothetical plan of action of this Area 51 raid if it was to take place. One of the most cited battle plan drafts comes from a Facebook user named Jackson Barnes, and here is his map and accompanying write-up. "Okay guys, I feel like we need to formulate a game plan. I've put together this easy to follow diagram here for a proposed plan. The basic idea is that the Kyles form the front line. If we feed them enough psilocybin and monster energy and say that anyone in camouflage is their stepdad and the entire base is made of drywall, then they will go berserk and become an impenetrable wall. Then the rock throwers will throw pebbles at the inevitable resistance. We don't want to hurt them, we just want to annoy them enough to not shoot the Kyles as often. While this is all happening, the two Naruto runner battalions will run full speed around the north and south flank and shadow clone jutsu, effectively tripling our numbers and overwhelm the base." After me reading this to you, I hope you can begin to understand why I feel like this Storm Area 51 meme is just a giant crossover meme of other formats juxtaposed within the setting of a Area 51 raid. In this example alone, you see various meme formats being implemented. You've got the Kyle/angry white kid caricature meme being used, the Naruto running weeb meme, and some monster energy in there to top things off. By the time July 12th would roll around, the event page had reached close to 400,000 confirmed attendees, and Storm Area 51 was beginning to spread across other platforms outside of Facebook. The boys over at R-Dank Memes would have their contributions, and eventually Twitter would hop on board as well. The Storm Area 51 format continued to morph and be remixed in different ways during its dissemination across the internet. The joke evolved into not just being about the raid itself, but people satirically joking about what they would do with the plundered tech or alien life discovered after a hypothetical successful raid was completed. Obvious remixes were those involving previously established alien memes such as Howard the Alien, the LMAO aliens, and Lil Mayo. But honestly, there were crossovers of all shapes and forms. Nothing was really off the table. From Avengers, to Ricardo, to Me and the Boys, even the dreaded brand meme. Hell, Storm Area 51 was even used as the theme for an animated music video for a new cut of Old Town Road. And keep in mind that Old Town Road at the time of me making this video is the #1 song in the United States. So you've got the #1 song in America using this Storm Area 51 meme as the cornerstone theme in its music video. That's a pretty damn influential meme if you ask me. And with that said, it now becomes clear that Storm Area 51 and Area 51 related memes are completely mainstream, especially when you acknowledge the fact that cable news networks, notably Fox, have covered the internet's sudden obsession with Area 51 on a couple of occasions, and have spoken on the phenomena with a sense of boomer bewilderment. Not only is the mainstream media privy to the Storm Area 51 joke, so is the United States military, and they don't really think the joke is all that funny. On July 15th, just as the Area 51 Facebook event had surpassed 1 million confirmed attendees, the US Air Force issued an official warning to those planning on going to the site. Area 51 is an open training range for the US Air Force, and we would discourage anyone from trying to come into the area where we train American armed forces. The US Air Force always stands ready to protect America and its assets. So now we're living in the timeline where the United States government has felt that it was necessary to respond to a perceived threat from an internet meme. I really don't have an issue with this timeline. After the Air Force warning, Matty Roberts, the creator of the meme, was becoming concerned that things may be getting out of hand and reached out to the media in an effort to clarify that this whole thing is just a joke and people aren't really staging some giant raid on a US military installment.
Yeah, it was completely satire. I tried to make it seem as much as a joke as I possibly could, but there's definitely some people that are taking it seriously.
At what point did you realize, oh wow, this is much bigger than I thought, that people really are taking it seriously?
Once it got like past 500,000 people that were interested or going, I was just like, the FBI is going to show up to my house, and it got a little spooky from there.
Matty Roberts seems to think it would be possible to hold some sort of peaceful event or festival on this date rather than actually storming the walls of the compound. Quote, I want to make it like a festival of sorts. I want to have a bunch of different musical artists, everybody from the EDM world, and then maybe some indie rock, maybe some smaller guys that are up and coming. I've had a lot of people DMing the page saying their bands want to play there, which would be super cool. So now we're just gonna have to play the waiting game. This might be one of those situations where an update video may be warranted from me, but I'll definitely do an update if some sort of substantial development comes out surrounding this September 20th date. At the day of this recording on July 22nd, the Storm Area 51 event page has a confirmed 1.9 million confirmed attendees and continues to grow. Well anyways guys, let me know what you thought about the video in the comments section. I'll see you in the next one. Major shout out to my Patreon. So today I'm going back to my whatever happened to roots and discussing yet another meme that was born from a news blooper clip that went viral. And like many of these news blooper memes, the person involved has a catchphrase associated with them that's just as famous, if not more so, than the person themselves. We're gonna be taking a look back at the Ain't Nobody Got Time for That Lady, aka Sweet Brown.
I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Believe it or not, it's been close to 7 years since Sweet Brown's charismatic in the field interview blew up online. And while many of these overnight meme celebrities tend to completely mishandle their fame/infamy and fail to convert the clicks into cash, Sweet Brown was no stranger to making a buck off of her internet fame. From merch lines to acting gigs and even her own barbecue sauce, Sweet Brown has certainly gotten creative when it comes to monetizing her meme. And it seems like she's also very protective of what she believes is her intellectual property. And I say this because at one point she filed a lawsuit against Apple for hosting a song remix of her interview, which was allegedly created without her permission. So today I want to tell the story of how Sweet Brown became a meme and what she did after the fact, and we'll also touch on that Apple lawsuit a bit. Before we get started, I want to thank the folks over at the Ridge Wallet for sponsoring today's video. They make these sleek metallic wallets. They go in your front pocket, on the titanium, aluminum, and bag, subscription box, and this story begins all the way back on April 7th of 2012 in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. In the early morning hours of this particular April day, a fire broke out at the Chateau de Ville apartment complex located in the Pennville neighborhood, which is located just a few miles northwest of downtown. The fire damaged 5 of the apartment units, with the remaining being left intact. Shortly after the flames were extinguished and the scene was under control, KFOR Oklahoma News 4 reporters were on the ground and were quick to broadcast the aftermath of the fire on television. And little did the KFOR reporters know, during their reconnaissance of this story, they were going to capture one of the most viral news blooper clips of all time. Shortly after arriving, reporters were introduced to a Chateau de Ville resident named Kimberly Wilkins, aka Sweet Brown. She claimed to have smelled the smoke from the fire as it was beginning to spread, so they interviewed her, wanting an account from a witness. And this was the result.
One resident describes her horrifying experience when she first realized the complex was on fire.
So Brown. She claimed to have smelled the smoke from the fire as it was beginning to spread, so they interviewed her, wanting an account from a witness. And this was the result.
One resident describes her horrifying experience when she first realized the complex was on fire.
Well, I woke up to go get me a cold pop, and then I thought somebody was barbecuing. I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Then I ran out. I didn't grab no shoes or nothing, Jesus. I ran for my life. And then the smoke got me. I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
And I think it goes without saying, this clip is certainly something special.
I got bronchitis.
And in a post-Antoine Dodson era, I'm pretty sure that the KFOR reporters likely knew that they had a gold mine on their hands. So the video was uploaded to the KFOR YouTube channel and went completely viral. After it was posted, it was promptly ripped by a handful of other channels, many of which have more views on their re-uploads than the original does, with the most viewed of these boasting around 14 million views and is found on a channel called Lucasmar. Through a bit of digging online, I was able to discover that Lucasmar is or was at one point an employee at KFOR News and worked as a story contributor for the station. So perhaps he actually had direct access to the original Sweet Brown recording and it wasn't a rip. But anyways, Sweet Brown and her "Ain't Nobody Got Time for That" catchphrase were beginning to go insanely viral in the days following the apartment fire. And not only were ripped versions of the original interview popping up everywhere on YouTube, you began to see a phenomena that accompanies pretty much every viral news blooper clip: song remix parodies. And I'll always stand by the Schmo Yoho Charles Ramsey Dead Giveaway remix as being the greatest YouTube news blooper song remix of all time.
Dead giveaway. Dead giveaway.
I gotta admit, the Sweet Brown auto-tune remix parody is pretty good as well.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Uploaded on April 14th of 2012, it now has just under 66 million views. And there's a lot of different Ain't Nobody Got Time for That remixes out there, but these things were pretty crucial in the spread of this meme in general. So keep in mind that all this viral spread is happening within a matter of days. All the videos that I've mentioned have been posted within 4 or 5 days of the apartment fire. Millions of people around the world have become aware of Sweet Brown in this short time frame. But was Sweet Brown aware of all this stuff? Was she aware that she was now like a famous internet celebrity? Well, at first, no. But according to Sweet Brown, her internet savvy son would be the one to break the news to her.
And then I was like, you know, you're viral. I said, what do that mean? Then my son was like, Mom, you're viral. You 2 million in 2 days. And I didn't understand that. So.
You said, what is viral? Is that a cream or something?
I know, that's what I thought. I thought I need to stir up something.
Sweet Brown.
After realizing she had become this internet icon of sorts, she quickly got a manager on board and business and appearance requests began to flood in not long after. She would get to work. Well, only after meeting up with our old friend Lucas Marr in real life and getting gifted some RC Cola. Shout out to Lucas Marr. Sweet Brown was able to find an interesting niche that she was able to utilize to make money off of her internet fame. And this niche came in the form of paid appearances in local TV commercials, becoming a celebrity spokeswoman of sorts. Now, a lot of these commercials are JG Wentworth 877 Cash Now tier commercials, but hey, you gotta make that bag in any way, shape, or form. So I'm gonna play just a montage of them right here.
Sweet Brown, can you tell us what happened?
Well, I woke up to go get me a cold pop, and then I realized my tooth was hurting. Then I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a toothache. Ain't nobody got time for that. Paulette, you want a cold pop?
Sweet Brown, we're shooting a TV commercial.
Okay.
You know you don't want to fix up your home.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
You know you don't want to have an open house.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Sell your home. Call 1-800-2-SELL-HOMES.
I was sitting at home watching TV, and then I seen TDJ. Then I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a mega fest. So I ran out and grabbed my shoes and came.
During the research, I was honestly astonished at the sheer number of TV gigs that she was able to land. And those coupled with the paid appearance on Tosh.0, I can only imagine that she got a pretty decent bag from doing all of these TV appearances throughout late 2012 and early 2013. So aside from television, in early 2013, Sweet Brown got into merchandising as well. And one of the more interesting lanes that she went down was the creation of her own barbecue sauce brand. And what was this barbecue sauce called? It was called Sweet Brown's Oh Lord Jesus, It's a Fire. This barbecue sauce was intended to be the first of many products sold under Sweet Brown's Sweet Brown Foods LLC, which had been formed in early 2013 by Sweet Brown herself. In a local news interview in May of 2013, Sweet Brown claims that her barbecue sauce would be available online or at select Kroger and Walmart stores. However, this barbecue sauce venture ultimately was a flop, and I'm actually unable to find any solid proof that the sauce was ever sold in a retail setting. In fact, I can't find any solid evidence that anyone actually ever purchased this product. There's not a review to be found anywhere online. But there is proof that the barbecue sauce did exist, at least in a prototype form, as you can see her holding a bottle of it here. So perhaps the sauce venture never came to fruition, or it had a small limited run where it was sold on her now defunct website, realsweetbrown.com. So if there's anybody out there watching this video that ever at one point came into the possession of the Oh Lord Jesus, It's a Fire barbecue sauce, if you were to throw this stuff onto eBay, I would imagine you could at least get like $500 for this thing, because it's like a rare collector's item at this point. So during the chronology of this story, we're beginning to get into the summer of 2013, and this is where that lawsuit against Apple comes into play. As I mentioned earlier in the video, the song remixes of the KFOR interview were a huge reason of why Sweet Brown spread in the first place. The most popular of these was the Ain't Nobody Got Time for That auto-tune, but there was another very popular remix floating around online which was published back on April 11th of 2012, called I Got Bronchitis.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. I'm praying for my life.
This song was published on the Bob Rivers Show YouTube channel, which was the YouTube channel associated with the radio show of the same name, which broadcasted out of Seattle, Washington. The I Got Bronchitis remix was actually created by a musician named Ben Karlstrom, who at one point worked for the show. This remix blew up when it was uploaded to YouTube and was subsequently made available for purchase on iTunes. The video and its iTunes counterpart were extremely popular, but for some reason they mysteriously were taken down sometime in June of 2012, right in the midst of its viral spread. So what happened? Eventually it was discovered in the spring of 2013 that the song was removed due to a pending lawsuit filed by Sweet Brown and a co-complainant named Sparkle Adams, which was targeting Apple Incorporated in the Bob Rivers radio show. And they were looking for $15 million in damages, but why? The lawsuit made claims that the creators of the song, The Bob Rivers Show, used her voice clips and catchphrase from her famous interviews without permission, and was essentially profiting off of Sweet Brown's likeness. Apple was being targeted in the case simply for hosting the song on iTunes. However, Apple was quickly exempt from any consequence as they are protected by DMCA, and just removed the song from iTunes after a takedown request was filed. So this left the guys over at the Bob Rivers Show in the hot seat. Shortly after the news broke on this lawsuit, updates were few and far between. But in September of 2013, a big update was being reported. Apparently, the entire case had been dismissed by United States District Judge Joe Heaton because Sweet Brown and her co-plaintiff had failed to supply the court with the required evidence disclosures for the case to move forward. This case was dismissed without prejudice by the judge, which means that it can be reopened in the future, but as of today, this is yet to be pursued. Which I think is probably a good thing, because I think if this case blew up, it probably would have backfired and painted Sweet Brown as a litigious, money-hungry, and anti-fair use person. In my opinion, song remixes of these news interviews is completely fair use, but hey, I'm not a lawyer, so yeah. After the legal situation, it was quickly business as usual for Sweet Brown, focusing her time on finding gigs in television and even got into movies for a little bit. The most notable movie appearance that Sweet Brown ever participated in was Tyler Perry's A Madea Christmas, which released in December of 2013. So as far as the major developments with Sweet Brown, we've covered the TV commercial gigs, the Oh Lord Jesus It's a Fire barbecue sauce, the Apple suit, and her brief stint in movies. And after her Madea appearance in late 2013, this kind of wrapped everything up. The calls and business inquiries just kind of stopped coming in for her. Meme juice will ultimately run out, and things have been relatively quiet, and she has nestled herself comfortably in that post-E-Fame tier of celebrity with a reported net worth of $2 million. She still lives in Oklahoma City and has become somewhat of a living legend within the city. And yes, she's made appearances in various forms of media since 2014, none of these are very remarkable. While things have certainly slowed down for Sweet Brown in recent years, her catchphrase "Ain't nobody got time for that" continues on and has found itself embedded in the vernacular of many people worldwide. I mean, I think we've all said "ain't nobody got time for that" at least once in our life, and a lot of that came from the influence of Sweet Brown. But that, my friends, is the Sweet Brown story. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comment section, and let me know who you want me Bear with me on this one, guys. I'm sick. So today I have an interesting topic for you guys, and it's one that I've been wanting to talk about for some time now, and it's the "don't tase me, bro, don't tase me" phrase/meme.
Hey, don't tase me, bro. Don't tase me.
This one's an odd case because it's an extremely well recognized and fondly remembered meme, but very few people actually know the full story behind it. The phrase "don't tase me, bro" comes from a viral YouTube video uploaded on September 17th of 2007. The video features a college student being apprehended by campus police officers at some sort of public speaking event, and at one point the student gets thrown out of the event and in the process gets tased by police and screams out, "Don't tase me, bro."
Hey, don't tase me, bro. Ow! Ow! Ow!
Similar to Sweet Brown's "Ain't Nobody Got Time for That," the phrase kind of took a life of its own. And it became one of those meme phrases that people would simply parrot around when the context suited it. And in the case of "don't tase me, bro," it was typically used jokingly in the context of like a police altercation.
Please don't tase me, bro. I'm an old man. I got a heart condition.
But there's more to this meme than just the phrase. And I want to put a magnifying glass to the story behind the events that caused this kid to get tased in the first place. What happened to him after he screamed out "don't tase me, bro" and essentially became a living meme? What's he doing now? And hopefully I'm able to answer all those questions in today's video. Before we get started, I'd like to thank the Ridge for sponsoring on their test and even off and use "The Story Begins" to get 10% off that order. Anyways, on to the video. The story begins back on September 17th of 2007 in Gainesville, Florida at the University of Florida. On this particular September day, United States Senator from Massachusetts John Kerry was on campus giving a speech at the Constitution Day Forum, which was being held by the student body government on campus. Good old Constitution Day. I'm sure you're very familiar with it and celebrate it every year, right? But if for whatever reason you don't know what Constitution Day is, it's basically a minor US holiday that celebrates the day that the United States Constitution was signed into law, all the way back on September 17th of 1787. It's one of those very American-like holidays similar to President's Day or Independence Day when people kind of reflect back on the legacy of the United States, and it's also a convenient time for politicians to go do these types of public speaking events. And that's exactly what John Kerry was doing at this campus. After John Kerry finished up a speech at the University of Florida Constitution Day Forum, he then opened up his question and answer segment of the presentation and allowed individuals from the audience of approximately 50 attendees to walk up in front of the stage and ask him whatever question they pleased. And after answering a handful of softball questions, everything was going pretty smoothly for John Kerry. But eventually, after answering a few forum attendee questions with little to no problem, an issue would come up when 21-year-old University of Florida student Andrew Meyer entered the picture. And Andrew had a bone to pick with John Kerry. To give a bit of backstory about this Andrew Meyer guy, he was a fourth-year communications undergraduate student at the university and was at one point a columnist for the student body newspaper called the Independent Florida Alligator, and he had written critical articles on political figures in the past. In addition to his work on the newspaper, he also maintained an online blog of sorts where he wrote additional pieces, and he had written about John Kerry at one point in the past. Andrew Meyer had issues with how John Kerry pulled out of the presidential race in 2004 just the day after the results came in, even in the midst of the Florida voter fraud allegations. And now John Kerry, the man he has all these frustrations towards, is just right here in front of him at this event, and well, Andrew has the opportunity to unload these frustrations straight to him face to face.
And to continue to pile name upon some wall in the future for a strategy that has failed. That's the distinction. Sir.
I first and foremost want to thank you for your time. You spent a lot of time talking to us here today. I want to thank you for coming and being open and honest. You recommended a book to us earlier. I wanted to recommend a book to you. It's called Art Madhouse by Greg Palat.
Yeah, I have it actually.
Yeah, he's the top investigative journalist in America.
I've already read it.
And he says you won the 2004 election.
Right.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? You won in 2004. In fact, there were multiple reports on the day of the election of disenfranchisement of black voters in Florida and Ohio. I'll ask my question. Thank you very much. I'll ask my question. I'm going to preface it. He's been talking for 2 hours. I think I can have 2 minutes. Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to ask you my question. I'm going to inform people, and then I'm going to ask you my question. So there are multiple reports of disenfranchisement of black voters on the day of the election in 2004. Right. There was also voting machines, electronic voting machines in Volusia County, Florida, that counted backwards. So amidst all these reports of phony, bogus stuff going on, how could you concede the election on the day? How could you concede the 2004 election on the day?
But the question that would get Andrew's mic cut off and him forced off stage was asking if John Kerry was a member of the shadowy Skull and Bones Society of Yale University.
Also, were you a member of Skull and Bones in college in Bush? Were you in the same secret society as Bush? Were you in Skull and Bones? Thank you for cutting my mic. Thank you. Are you going to arrest me? Excuse me. What are you arresting me for?
Skull and Bones has long been a hot topic amongst conspiracy theorists, with many believing the powerful and influential people allegedly involved in the group are part of a conspiracy to control the world, a new world order of sorts. But anyways, after asking that question and being removed off stage by campus police officers, we would get one of the most viral catchphrase memes of all time.
Hold on your stomach. Do it now. Put your hands on your head.
I think if everybody just this situation,
you don't have an option.
I'll answer his question.
Get the f*** off me, man. I didn't do anything. Don't tase me, bro. Don't tase me. I didn't do anything. Ow! Ow! Police brutality. What did I do? Stay back.
After being apprehended and tasered by police, Andrew Meyer was arrested and charged with resisting arrest and disturbing the peace. Here's a statement from one of the police officers found in the police report. I managed to take control of Meyer's right hand and restrain it into one side of my handcuffs. Due to Meyer's erratic flailing, the inability to attain Meyer's left arm from his resistance and increased potential for injury with one cuff on, Sergeant King attempted to deploy a contact tase to no avail. He then instructed the officer to apply a contact tase to gain compliance in order to place Meyer's left hand into the other cuff. The officer gave verbal commands and informed Meyer that he would be tased if he did not comply. Once the officer applied the tase, Wise assisted Meyer's left arm to where I was able to apply the other cuff. Once he was restrained, he was escorted out of the auditorium where I checked the fitting and applied the double locked function on the cuffs. Andrew Meyer was then booked in jail and placed there for less than 24 hours. The video clip of this entire altercation was uploaded to YouTube the same day of it being recorded. It quickly went viral and found itself being broadcasted on mainstream media outlets like Fox News. There was much debate as to if the campus police response to Andrew Meyer's questioning of John Kerry was appropriate, and some were saying it was an example of police brutality. Because from what we can see in the footage, Meyer may have been an annoyance, but he was only exercising his right to free speech at an event open to the public. He certainly wasn't posing physical threats to anyone present at the forum. Regardless, he was tackled and tased. The day after the tasing took place, John Kerry gave his statement on the situation, which I feel contains some subtle jabs at the way the police handled everything. In 37 years of public appearances through wars, protests, and highly emotional events, I have never had a dialogue in this way. I believe I could have handled the situation without interruption, but I do not know what warnings or other exchanges transpired between the young man and the police prior to his barging to the front of the line and their intervention. I asked the police to allow me to answer the question and was in the process of responding when he was taken into custody. I was not aware that a taser was used until after I left the building. I hope that neither the student nor any of the police were injured. I regret enormously that a good healthy discussion was interrupted. The University of Florida president announced that 2 of the police officers responsible for subduing Andrew Meyer had been suspended with paid administrative leave until a full investigation could take place. But the whole debate about this police brutality stuff would end up on the back burner and find itself completely overshadowed by one of the more humorous elements of this situation. And that element was just the way that Andrew Meyer screams out, "Don't tase me, bro," in the clip.
Don't tase me, bro. Don't tase me.
The "Don't Tase Me Bro" video had gone viral, with several re-uploads of the video pulling in hundreds of thousands of views. Impressive numbers for the 2007 days of YouTube. The phrase quickly found itself embedded into pop culture, and the "don't tase me bro" phrase was parodied quite frequently in the later months of 2007.
Oh, don't tase me, bro. I don't need this. I don't need this. I didn't do anything.
I'm not tasing you.
I haven't done a single thing. I just want some chips. Don't tase me, bro.
I'm not tasing.
Is anybody seeing this? Hey, get up. Oh, okay, all right.
Don't tase me, bro. Don't tase me, bro. Don't tase me, bro.
As time goes by, memes just kind of fall out of popularity. However, in this case, the phrase "don't tase me bro" still persists, and I feel like it exists somewhere in the back of the minds of many, hanging on to a bundle of neurons dedicated to preserving the memory of late 2000s internet memes. The phrase "don't tase me bro" still finds occasional use. As I said earlier in the video, it's used in the niche context of commenting on law enforcement altercations.
Hey guys, vote for me for class president, and I'll put beer in the water fountains and cameras in the girls' locker rooms. Woo! Go Bobcats!
Sir, would you please take your seat?
Don't tase me, bro.
Drop the saber and step away from the futuristic orb.
I take orders from no man. Liberté, égalité, fraternité!
Don't tase me, bro.
So yeah, I guess you could say it's probably a dead meme, but it's definitely not as dead as some of the other memes that popped up in 2007. So now that I've discussed the spread and the backstory behind "Don't Tase Me Bro," I just want to briefly talk about what Andrew Meyer did after all this happened. Well, in the weeks following this situation, it was being reported that Andrew's charges were dropped in exchange for him being placed on an 18-month voluntary probation. While this is certainly better than having those charges, getting probation isn't the greatest either, but what are you gonna do? He was also granted the opportunity to give his side of the story when in November of 2007 he was invited to go on the Today Show and talk to Matt Lauer about the whole situation. And this is what he has to say.
What was your agenda? Why did you go to that forum that morning? What did you hope to accomplish?
I went there with serious political questions that you saw me asking. My only agenda was to raise the important issues that the media doesn't talk about, the disenfranchisement of voters. And when I talk about disenfranchisement, I'm talking about American voters not being allowed to vote and not having their votes count.
When you say you wanted to cast light on that, shed light on that, had you thought going into this event, Andrew, that if that means that I have to get a little bit unruly and I have to get the attention of Senator Kerry and the police and I have to be arrested, so be it?
Not at all. I mean, I just wasn't able to maintain my composure. I went there to try and ask these questions calmly, but even asking these questions in today's environment, it causes a scene. I didn't intend to create one.
So you didn't go there thinking, okay, I may get arrested, I may get a taser gun stuck in my side, but as long as I shed light on these issues, it's okay.
I wasn't thinking that at all.
You've written some letters of apology, correct?
You know, I did step out of line at the forum. I broke the forum rules, and I want to apologize for that. I also want to apologize for the negative light this whole incident has cast on the university. Nothing like this has ever happened at the university before. Nothing like this has ever happened to me before.
So wait, let me make sure. Were you wrong or were the police who tasered you wrong? What's your opinion on that?
You know, I think that the police were acting, they were doing their job, is what they were trying to do. I think that...
What was Senator Kerry's reaction to this? When you get grabbed by the police, were you expecting to hear him yell, "Let him go, he has a right to ask these questions"? And what response did you get from Senator Kerry?
Well, you know, John Kerry did say that he wanted to answer my questions. You know, I'd love to come back here with him on this side of the couch and we could go through my questions and get some answers from him. I would love to do that.
And I feel like he comes off a bit jaded in this interview, but can you really blame him? But things weren't all bad for Andrew Meyer, because he was actually able to somewhat monetize the "Don't Tase Me Bro" catchphrase. Sometime in late September of 2007, he trademarked the phrase "Don't Tase Me Bro" and began to sell t-shirts with the phrase plastered on them. While I'm unable to find any sales number for these, I would imagine he made some pretty decent spending money from the sale of these t-shirts. because the meme was pretty popular back then. In 2008, Andrew would ultimately end up leaving the University of Florida and transfer to Florida International Institute, and would switch his studies from communications to studying law. In an interview with American Journalism Review, he elaborates as to why he made the switch. It was absolutely the 2007 experience that pushed me to go to law school. There were a lot of legal things going on that showed me how completely unprepared I was for the reality of the world. There's a reason that lawyers are paid thousands of dollars just for their knowledge. It's because the knowledge that they have is extremely valuable. That whole incident just opened my eyes to how important it is to understand the laws around you, even if just for your own personal sake. Fully know and understand your rights. But after graduating law school, Andrew Meyer would ultimately go back to his journalistic / communications roots and pursued journalism as his career. He's worked for several different publications, most of which could be described as free speech and civil rights watchdogs. And in 2018, he went on to publish a book which reflected on the 2007 Constitution Day Forum event and his experience on being a living meme. He now works as an editor for Culture.com, a news site that reports on politics, free speech issues like deplatforming, and various other things. But without getting too far into the weeds, that's pretty much the full story behind the "Don't Tase Me Bro" meme. Let me know what you guys thought about this video in the comment section, and let me know who or what you want me to cover next. Major shout out to my patrons, I appreciate you guys. Bear with me on In 2009, the world was introduced to cryptocurrencies for the first time via the means of Bitcoin. And by now you're probably very familiar with Bitcoin. You may know someone who trades it or even mines the stuff. But back within the first few years of its creation, 2009, 2010, the scale of people engaged with Bitcoin was drastically smaller than it is today. And this wasn't just because Bitcoin was this new obscure concept. Bitcoins were only worth pennies at the time. And the hours that it took to mine Bitcoins, well, it just wasn't worth the pennies you were getting for using the electricity to mine them. But there were a select few that saw a future in the concept of cryptocurrencies and believed that one day they may increase in value. And these people would be rewarded, as history tells. The first Bitcoin pioneers were handsomely rewarded for their patience, because many who had accumulated thousands of Bitcoins, which were just worth pennies back in 2010, well, they skyrocketed to a peak price of $19,783.06 per Bitcoin on December 22nd of 2017. Basement-dwelling tech geeks went to Lambo-driving, mansion-having millionaires in the span of just a few years. It was pretty crazy. This is where I want to introduce the star of today's video, a man named James Howells. He was one of these original Bitcoin pioneers who got in super early. James was one of the guys that got into Bitcoin mining right at the beginning, starting in 2009, but unfortunately, despite his hard work, he never got to enjoy the riches the other early Bitcoin enthusiasts enjoyed. Today, I'm going to tell the story of how James Howells lost thousands of Bitcoins, which summed up to something like $120 million due to one tragic mistake. Before we dive into the video, though, I want to let you guys know this video is sponsored by Dashlane. Dashlane, they make I want you to Wavy Web Surf to try Dashlane for free, and the first 200 people to use code Wavy Web Surf will get 10% off Dashlane Premium. So check that link out. I really have been rocking with this service for the past few months. So without any further ado, on to the story of James Howells' Bitcoin blunder. Some of you may be familiar with the American sitcom series created by Mike Judge called Silicon Valley. In one of the episodes titled Initial Coin Offering, a handful of characters are seen digging through a landfill for an accidentally discarded USB drive which contained the data for $300 million worth of Bitcoin. This plot of digging in a landfill for an accidentally trashed hard drive worth millions is actually inspired from the unfortunate circumstance that fell upon the star of today's video, James Howells. In 2009, James Howells, who was living in the United Kingdom in the city of Newport, Wales, was working in the IT field full time. Being fully engrossed in the IT field because of his job allowed him to sort of catch up on tech trends before they really caught into the mainstream. And one of these tech trends that he caught early was cryptocurrency / Bitcoin. In 2009, the open source code for Bitcoin was released to the public, and some of the first Bitcoin miners would get to work. James Howells was one of these miners. As a part-time side hustle, Howells would use the GPU from his personal laptop to mine Bitcoin. Quote, "I mined more than 7,500 coins over 1 week's time in 2009. There were just 6 of us doing it at the time, and it was like the early days of a gold rush." Here's a video clip of James Howells sort of reminiscing on this early Bitcoin gold rush.
I was one of the first 6 people on the network to mine Bitcoin. The difficulty level was 0. I launched my client, started mining Bitcoin, and left it running overnight until I was advised to stop by my ex-girlfriend because the noise of the fans was keeping her up at night.
So after James Howells hit what he called the Bitcoin gold rush and got his 7,500 Bitcoins pretty easily, he took a step back from his mining operation for several years. Howells' Bitcoin key, which is essentially the data that gives you credit for Bitcoins mined, was stored on his personal laptop's hard drive. This personal laptop was eventually parted out and sold by Howells on eBay. However, the hard drive that was in that personal laptop with the Bitcoin data on it was kept and stored inside of a desk drawer alongside an empty hard drive. His blunder would occur in mid-2013. While doing a deep clean of his house and home office, James Howells was cleaning out his desk. Howells intended to discard the empty hard drive, but accidentally grabbed the hard drive with the 7,500 Bitcoins on it. Quote, "I meant to throw away the empty drive and I accidentally threw away the one with the Bitcoin information." And he also goes on to say that this error was caused because, quote, he was distracted by family life and moving house. The Bitcoin hard drive was tossed into the waste bin alongside other household garbage and taken outside of his home for pickup. Waste Management Services would collect Howell's garbage and transport it to a landfill in Newport, South Wales. It wasn't until several weeks had passed that James Howells realized his mistake, and he realized that he threw away the 7,500 Bitcoins. Since he had been rather distant from the Bitcoin scene for some years now, he didn't even know what the current price of Bitcoin was, so after realizing his mistake, he decided to go online and assess the damages. To his shock, the price of Bitcoin was sitting around $110 per coin. Bitcoin had indeed come a long way from the pennies that they were originally worth back in 2009 and 2010. This $110 going rate would make his lost collection of 7,500 Bitcoins worth a whopping $825,000. And the time after realizing that he just missed this fortune, he was completely devastated. But what could he really do? I mean, it had been several weeks since he'd thrown it away. What, is he gonna go to the landfill and try to dig it up? Well, that initially was his thought. He did give a phone call to the landfill explaining what had happened. But unsurprisingly, the landfill refused his request to go on the premises. For the time being, James Howells would have to admit defeat, but his loss would gnaw at him for years to come as the price of Bitcoin continued to maintain and would oftentimes go up in value. The peak price in 2013, $1,242 per coin. In 2014, $757 per coin. In 2015, $452 per coin. In 2016, $978 per coin. But the real slap in the face to James Howells came in 2017, when the price reached an all-time high of $19,783 per coin on December 17th. If James Howells was able to sell his collection of 7,500 Bitcoins at this price, he would have made a total close to $148 million. With the 2017 price spiking and the landfill's continuous refusal to allow him to search the premises, James Howells would go to the city council and request permission to search the landfill, claiming that he'd get a team to go along with them and excavate the landfill, and in exchange he would give the city 10% of the wealth from the Bitcoin. But the city wasn't having any of it and refused. The stance of the city council was ultimately that it would be virtually impossible for James Howells to find the small hard drive, and the equipment needed to dig up the landfill would be ridiculous. A council member stated the garbage digging would create, quote, a huge environmental impact on the surrounding area, and also commented that even if Howells found the hard drive, quote, it is likely that the hardware would have suffered significant galvanic corrosion due to the presence of landfill leachates and gases. And to be honest, that kind of makes sense. James Howells has consistently pressed the city council trying to get permission throughout the years. Here are some of his criticisms to the skepticism shown by the city council and the landfill. I would love to know which hard drive data experts they consulted, because I'm pretty sure the council have nobody who is qualified in data recovery on their team. They are under the impression I want to dig the whole landfill site when this isn't the case. I want to try to pinpoint the location and depth of the drive based off the dates it was thrown out. This would help narrow down the search area considerably and would not impact ongoing operations in any way. I have investors who are lined up willing to take all the risk, even to the point of putting money in a bond scheme so the council are covered financially if we mess it up. It can be done, and it could be done safely. James Howells has never been given permission to search the landfill for the Bitcoin hard drive, and it is presumed to be somewhere underneath the mountain of garbage to this day, and will likely stay there for many years to come. So what do you guys think about James Howells' Bitcoin blunder? Do you think that he's asking a little too much of the city to allow him to go search the landfill? I mean, I completely understand their hesitation. They don't want some random guy digging through a mountain of garbage when it will probably be virtually impossible for him to find the hard drive. And like I said, I feel as though the hard drive would be completely destroyed through weathering and stuff like that. But like James Howells pointed out, we're no hard drive experts, so who's really to say? But let me know what you guys thought about the video in the description box, and let me know what you want me to talk about next. And make sure you guys check out Dashlane. That link is in the description box. Major shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys. Wavy Web Service. So let's start off today's video by talking a bit about factitious medical disorders. Factitious disorders are conditions in which a person deliberately and consciously acts as if he or she has a physical or mental illness when he or she is not really sick. And why might someone fake an illness? Well, the prevailing theory is that the primary aim is to obtain sympathy in addition to the attention and nurturing that one normally receives from others when they are ill. These people will go to extreme lengths to prove others that they are really sick when in fact they aren't, from complaining of fake pains all the way to feigning symptoms of severe mental illnesses like schizophrenia. Now, with the concept of factitious disorders briefly explained, I'd like you to meet the subject of today's video. Meet Desiree Jennings. In 2009, Jennings made national news headlines after she developed symptoms which mimicked a rare neuromuscular disorder after receiving a flu vaccine. And as you can see here by the clip playing, the symptoms were pretty extreme. There were many out there though that thought that this woman was a fraud and that her symptoms were completely made up for attention. And today I'm here to break down this whole Desiree Jennings flu shot debacle for you guys. Was it a hoax? Before we get into the story, I want to thank The Ridge for sponsoring today's video. They make these sleek metallic wallets. This one is the aluminum gunmetal. I've been using Ridge wallets for a few months now, and there's a aluminum gun advantage of it. Wavy that out. Anyways, on to the story. In 2009, 25-year-old Desiree Jennings was performing exceptionally well in life. She had recently landed her dream job in marketing and was working simultaneously as the cheerleader ambassador for the Washington Redskins. And on top of that, she had just gotten married to a successful businessman. She was physically fit and in peak health. But everything would change for Jennings in late August of 2009 after she went to a local Safeway supermarket for her annual flu vaccine. In the days following her getting a flu vaccine, she began to develop some extremely bizarre symptoms. She was speaking in a European/Australian sounding accent, flailing her arms and legs spastically while walking forward, and claimed that she lost the ability to read. Shocking video footage of the woman's symptoms were shown to the American public via the means of an Inside Edition report covering her case.
You can't control it. The muscles, everything just shakes.
She could run and walk sideways, but not straight ahead.
Her symptoms kept progressively getting worse.
I'm not the type of person to sit and watch TV or sit around on the couch. I have to be busy, productive, and, accomplishing something. Otherwise, I get very bored.
Could this be that same woman? Desiree, one day the picture of health, and the next a twisted, stuttering, fainting vision of pain and suffering.
I certainly try to remember stuff.
How did this happen? Desiree blames the dramatic change in what should have been a routine flu shot last fall.
The story would become a national sensation and inadvertently created a new wave of flu vaccine paranoia. As the story would continue to develop, Jennings would publicly claim that she received the diagnosis of dystonia from a physical therapist, which is pretty strange because, as far as I'm aware, physical therapists cannot give you a medical diagnosis, at least in the United States. But anyways, what the hell is dystonia? Dystonia is a rare movement disorder in which a person's muscles contract uncontrollably. The contraction causes the infected body part to twist involuntarily, resulting in repetitive movements or abnormal postures. And a diagnosis of dystonia is congruent with some of the symptoms displayed by Jennings, such as the spastic arm and leg movements during locomotion. But the majority of her symptoms, such as the European and sometimes Australian sounding accent, are not related to the disorder. It is possible for someone to develop slurred speech, but that wasn't the case here. Medical experts who were skeptical of the woman and her claims were quick to point out that the extreme coordination deficits displayed by Jennings in the Inside Edition video clips would be comparable to someone with an extremely advanced case of dystonia. The disease itself is progressive in nature and causes deterioration over time, not within a period of days like in the case of what Jennings was experiencing.
Dr. Stephen Novella is an assistant professor of neurology at Yale, and he's followed Desiree's case on the internet closely. He's comfortable commenting from afar because dystonia is primarily a visual diagnosis.
Now, I never examined her and I never claimed to come to any kind of a clinical diagnosis of her, but what I did say was the movements that she's displaying in those videos is not dystonia. For example, while she was having fairly dramatic whole body movements, she was still able to maintain her balance in a very precarious way.
Even more puzzling was the claim that Jennings could walk normally if she walked sideways or backwards. And whenever she walked sideways or backwards, her speech just magically cleared up and went back to normal with no accent.
She has to go up and down stairs backwards because something as simple as walking forward can be dangerous.
And here's the unusual part about the disorder. Take a look at this. Desiree can run just fine. It's only when she stops. You see, that's where the spasms start. Now you can walk backwards though, and it'll make it better, right?
Yeah. She runs with a normal stride. And as I ran with her, she even spoke normally.
And now you can talk.
Yeah, it's weird. It fixes as soon as I start running.
I mean, you sound.
I know, it's great, isn't it?
You sound amazing. And then you stop, and that's what happens.
I think by now you're beginning to understand the picture here. Something about this woman and her story was fishy. Jennings seemed suspiciously eager to appear on television programming, and there were reports floating around the news industry from people who had been in contact with the woman in person, and they claimed that her symptoms would become exaggerated when the cameras were turned on. Even more strangely, in the midst of all this, she participated in a 7-mile marathon shortly after her first round of media appearances, and she claimed she was able to do this because her symptoms cleared up whenever she started running. At one point, do we just stop and think to ourselves, hey, is this woman just completely crazy and she's making all of this shit up for attention? This was certainly becoming the consensus at the time. As more expert reports emerged doubting Jennings' claim to dystonia, the public's sympathetic attitude towards her began to wane and she quickly was becoming a laughingstock. People began posting reaction commentary videos which made fun of the woman's walk on YouTube.
Do you think that if she was ugly, she would get this much publicity?
And you even had a few meme remixes being created as well, such as the Walk It Out remix.
Hey, now walk it out, 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 now walk it out.
while public opinion began to sway against Jennings and she was being collectively goofed on by the internet, the folks over at the Inside Edition were several weeks deep into a project which they hoped when finished would expose the truth about the woman and her claims. Inside Edition had been covertly filming Desiree Jennings out in public spaces across a span of a couple of weeks, and during their undercover filming operation they discovered that when Jennings thought no one was filming her, she magically had no symptoms.
But look at Jennings now. Inside Edition supplied this video of her walking normally, playing with her dogs, shopping, and even driving. Inside Edition had been secretly taping Jennings for weeks.
We've been trying to reach you and you have not been returning our phone calls.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's going on? It looks like you've made a complete recovery.
Well, I don't want to say complete recovery. I still have a lot of cognitive issues. I mean, the people are free to believe whatever they want, but, you know, I mean, clearly what I've been going through, I know it's not psychogenic, and it's not a hoax.
By now, you've probably noticed Jennings spoke with a foreign accent that she'd never had before.
I'm from Ohio. I should not be talking like this.
One more thing to notice, when Inside Edition first approached Jennings in this parking lot, she seemed to be walking normally. But after their interview, she walked to her car sideways, saying it was dystonia.
Yeah, Inside Edition busted this girl. She got caught red-handed. All of her symptoms had mysteriously cleared up when she thought that nobody was looking. This interview alone was pretty much confirmation that this woman was off her rocker and had made all this stuff up in her head. A Center for Disease Control report, which was published around the time of the Inside Edition expose, further undermines the woman's claim of dystonia. Here's the CDC report, which denies the flu vaccine could cause any of the woman's symptoms, and also contains the history and physical note from the neurologist who examined Jennings when she first displayed symptoms. Patient began experiencing difficulty walking, chills, sweats, tremors, and vivid dreams with difficulty sleeping. She began having headaches described as a cold spot on the back of her head, had subsequently developed a stutter, but was able to speak clearly if she whispered. Her symptoms persisted and progressed to erratic movements of the toe, intermittent uncontrolled blinking, difficulty focusing, uncontrolled shaking, cold feet, and sharp pains in the legs. Upon this admission, the plan was to rule out Guillain-Barré syndrome, multiple sclerosis, malignancy, Lyme disease, and myasthenia gravis. Patient noted to have dystonia, speech dysfunction, gait dysfunction, anxiety, shortness of breath, photophobia, tinnitus of the left ear, and increase in appetite, a 2-pound weight loss. It was also noted that the symptoms were worsened by warm water, especially at the knees. The admitting neurologist felt that there was a strong psychogenic component to the symptomology and made a final diagnosis of weakness. Basically, Jennings had seen a neurologist and the doctor had attributed all of her symptoms to being psychogenic in nature. When a disorder is labeled psychogenic, that means the problems are believed to be arising from emotional or mental stressors or from psychological or psychiatric disorders. And really, I hate using layman's terms when referring to medicine or medical terminology, but really what's going on here is this neurologist felt as though that Desiree Jennings really had no actual problem. She was pretty much just making all of this up in her head. Despite the overwhelming evidence that Jennings did not contract dystonia from the flu shot, she continued with the narrative. She claimed that her symptoms were cured after receiving treatments from a doctor who engaged in alternative medicine. Dr. Rashid Buttar ran an alternative medicine clinic and admitted Jennings as one of his patients. Dr. Buttar would go on to administer a series of intravenous chelation therapy to Jennings. Chelation therapy is thought to remove toxic metals from the bloodstream such as mercury. Dr. Buttar administered the chelation therapy believing that the symptoms she was experiencing were related to mercury found inside of the flu shot. Ever since receiving this, Jennings has associated Dr. Buttar's chelation therapy as the explanation for her symptoms disappearing. And as soon as Desiree Jennings' walk switched from that of a spastic gait to something more normal and cured, the public just kinda stopped giving a crap about her. And after the media circus that was the Jennings flu vaccine debacle, she's practically fallen off the face of the earth with virtually no information regarding her personal life being available past 2010. I think you would be justified to call what Jennings did a hoax. But before you walk away from the video thinking that, I want to reinforce that the neurologist deducted that her symptoms were psychogenic. This implies that Jennings may have actually had some sort of underlying mental disorder that could have been causing attention-seeking behavior like this. She very well may have some sort of mental illness that pushed her to engage in this sort of behavior, and it could have possibly been out of her control. But that's just me playing devil's advocate. For all we know, she could have been out here just wanting some of that clout. Well, anyways, guys,
If you found this tape, it means that everyone is dead. Or working at a different office. How did this happen? Well, I'll tell you. Buckle up, buckaroos. Today's lesson is the misfired launch of Fallout 76. June 2018. It began with everyone getting just a little hyped up.
Have we waited long enough, guys?
Oh God, yes we have, Todd.
I think we have.
Fallout 76, Bethesda's biggest game yet. My God, it was exciting, and they promised we'd know more at E3. E3 hype time, the press conference. 16 times the detail.
16 times the detail. There's all new rendering, lighting, and landscape technology.
4 times the map size.
It is 4 times the size of Fallout 4. And it's our biggest one yet.
My God, it was exciting. November 14th, 2018. The game goes live with a day one patch of 50 gigabytes.
For fuck's sake. I'll see you tomorrow.
But once that's downloaded, people start logging into the hellscape that is Fallout 76. And oh dear lord, they never fix the bugs. And there are so many of them. Goodbye world, goodbye necks, goodbye body, goodbye heads, bugs, bugs, bugs everywhere. Server crashes, game crashes, old bugs imported from Fallout 4. Use more than one nuke at a time, server's dead. Textures far too texturous, an all-consuming void. Error log 307. Can't pick up stuff, can't stop asserting dominance with a T-pose, framerate problems, screen tear problems, getting too swole, getting underneath the map, getting attacked by invisible enemies, spawning too many enemies.
It kind of speaks for itself.
Spawning too many god rays. Also, your camp resets after every session, and sometimes it goes underwater. Holotapes randomly play static, but too many holotapes mean none of them will play. Enemy AI is far more A than I. Animations are broken. Surprise! Floating objects and a traveling merchant. Just to name a few. Joseph Anderson has a great video that documents just the ones that he found personally. That video is 3 hours long. But it gets worse. Error CE348780 can corrupt your data and force you to reinstall the game and console operating system. A few PC players had their computers brick entirely. Also, when the date rolled over to the 1st of January 2019, the nukes in the game stopped working altogether. No one thought it prudent to program in other years in an always online game. And a few players were straight up logging into other people's accounts. This guy had a level 78 character that was randomly replaced with a level 8 character. Bethesda said they couldn't do anything about it. Many players are not thrilled with this game, and they want Bethesda to know that. And they want everyone else to know that too. But Bethesda owns the platform. Is Fallout 76 fun?
Yes, it is. Banned for racism. Thread locked.
They had no direct outlet for their rage. The only solution was to put a torch to everything else. Reddit, Twitter, Bethesda's other games on Steam. The backlash was immense. But surely level heads would prevail. The reviewers would come out and say that the game isn't so bad. Oh dear lord, they hated it. This is so sad. Despacito, play Country Roads.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River.
And the YouTube community had this to say.
It's really f***ing boring.
Could barely bring myself to play it in order to finish this review.
No one on staff wants to play any more of this video game. I'm not going to subject myself to another 20, 30 hours of this fucking mess.
In short, Fallout 76 is morally, technically, and creatively bankrupt.
The mods on Bethesda forums were working overtime. The mods on Reddit almost gave up. Look, I'm not saying that some people didn't enjoy and have fun with this game. But what I am saying is that the Metacritic was really funny to read. So what happened? Well, it came out that development was hugely rushed. The deadlines were tight. Too tight. Plus, this wasn't Bethesda's A-team. It's actually a relatively inexperienced division based in Austin, and the scope of the game kept getting bigger.
We're gonna need distant weather systems.
Hey Todd, I stayed up all night and I just finished.
We're gonna need 16 times the detail.
Please. Todd, no more.
We're gonna need 4 times the size of Fallout 4.
That, and they were trying to patchwork the old Bethesda creation engine into a multiplayer framework. What else could you expect?
That's why I give my kids Fallout 76.
Now, Bethesda could tolerate the bugs and the bad reviews and the irate players, but what they couldn't tolerate were the exploits. Infinite inventory, infinite invisibility. The frame rate was tied to the game speed, so people were going a lot faster than they should. Server hopping for more items, infinite cache and infinite duplication, unlimited XP, unlimited nuking. The nuclear codes were unencrypted and you could wall clip into the quest room. And someone was given the curse of infinite invincibility. Naturally, this can really mess with other players' online experience. So Bethesda was ready, with the ban hammer,
This just
and a blindfold to wildly flail around and take down anyone who happened by. But Bethesda wasn't satisfied with just banning people. No, they're a progressive company with big ideas. They wanted to give a road to redemption. So support sent out this email to players caught cheating. We would be willing to accept an essay on why The use of third-party cheat software is detrimental to an online game community. That's right, 500 words on why you're a very naughty boy, and they may just give you your account back. But a couple of days later, the mocking from news outlets caused them to reconsider this approach. One more exploit. In all the Bethesda games, there's a dev room. Every item in the game is kept here. Security has to be top-notch because otherwise, someone could just waltz in and take all of the best items in the game and it would be an absolute disaster. Well, shit. Of course, Bethesda wasn't equipped to deal with the issue. People started flooding in, taking the best items in the game, then selling those items on a black market of sorts. At first, they tried the usual approach, banning people who had some of the best items in the game. You spent 700 hours just to get the best gun? Die, cheater! Next, they put in a system where players would get tagged if they ever entered the room, and they banned those players. That wasn't much better because people would just start using Smurf accounts. Get in quick with a level 1 account. Get all that good shit. Then get the fuck out. Then use a duplication glitch to get a ton more of those items. Then transfer that stuff to your main account and you're good to go. Bethesda then takes out this level 1 and calls it mission accomplished. And you've just beaten the game. So the problem continued. Bethesda is running out of ideas to solve it. There's a lot of speculation in the media and among players about how exactly people are getting in, but no one except for the exploiters knows for sure. That said, Bethesda needs to act fast before it ruins the economy of the game. So they wrote another email and sent it out to the Smurfs. Hello, cheater. Do you want to tell us how you did it and we might unban you, please? Should we not hear back from you, the account will simply remain suspended. It's not known whether this approach worked, but from what I've seen, it's still possible to get into the dev room. November 22nd, 2018. Just a week after the release, the game goes on discount. From $60 to $40, to $35, to $30. You can find it for $15 on eBay, and in Germany they're straight up giving it for free when you buy a PlayStation controller. Also, some stores are just zip tying it to other products. But to Bethesda, it's worth selling the thing at a price close to zero, because it brings people into the atomic shop, which is where the real margins are, and it inflates the poor sales figures. Let's have a look at those. The latest figures show 76 sold less than a sixth of what Fallout 4 did. Not good. There's also been a massive oversupply of hard copies. Although what's the point of a hard copy when the thing is just a cardboard disc telling you to redeem an online code? And while sales are low, returns are high. Immediately upon release, people began asking Bethesda for a refund. 76 is not on Steam, it's on Bethesda's own platform, so they have all the control. If players only played the game for a few hours, then generally they'd get their money back. However, it came out that people were sometimes getting refunds after a full 24 hours of play. Quite generous. But then word about this spread to forums. Then to Reddit, and a post got 12,500 upvotes informing people that this made pretty much everyone eligible for a refund, and the comments told them exactly how to do it. Bethesda was flooded with requests for refunds. And their response? Shut it down, lads. No one gets a refund now. Everyone go home. Show's over. Robot customer service man engage.
Customers who have downloaded the game are not eligible for a refund. We apologize for the inconvenience. Die.
A few things followed. First, people got mad. One hardcore gamer even trashed a GameStop for refusing his refund.
Thank you for calling GameStop. This is Brian. How can I help you?
A bit of an overreaction, but probably also fake. Second, the media. And third, a class action lawsuit. Their inconsistent refund policy and terms of service may not be strictly legal. November 27th, 2018. Miglatio and Rathod LLP filed a class action suit on behalf of customers. Media quickly picked up on that. Their main argument is that it's a sometimes unplayable game owing to its technical problems, then they're refusing refunds, and that Bethesda is engaged in a strategy to release it anyway and then slowly patch their way into a more playable state. Updates on this lawsuit are slow. so I'll keep you informed on the second channel. Ad time. Look, there's a meteor headed straight to Earth. Oh my god. We must do something. Was anyone curious enough to read about it online? Not me. Not me either. Nope. Oh no. Now people think I'm dumb and I have died a virgin. Don't let this happen to you. Get Curiosity Stream. It's a streaming platform with some of the best documentaries and non-fiction from around the world. Partial nudity? Maybe if you look hard enough. But more importantly, the most arousing thing of all, knowledge. Works for your Roku, Android, etc., etc. It works on everything, okay? Science, nature, history, tech, society. CuriosityStream.com/internethistorian for unlimited access to the world's free top documentaries and non-fiction series. Use the promo code InternetHistorian during the sign-up process to get the first 30 days free, then cancel any time. Wink. Please, look, I need sponsors. I bought a lifetime supply of toilet paper thinking I was saving money, but then I left it out in the rain and the crows got it, and now I'm back to square one. Please. CuriosityStream.com/internethistorian. Ads over. Let's rewind a little bit. Fallout fans made their pre-orders, and the most dedicated pre-ordered the Power Armor Edition. Wow. It came with a helmet, box, map, army toys, and a genuine West Tech canvas bag. Fast forward to the release, and customers noticed that their precious bags, which are supposed to be made of the finest canvas in the land,
Yummy.
look a bit different.
Bruh.
In fact, it looks like a carry bag the real bag should come in.
Bruh.
Did they really just advertise one thing and deliver another? You can't do that. So there was a surge of backlash, and people began emailing Bethesda, asking for refunds, asking for answers. By this point, customer service is absolutely over it. They are done with the facade, and they send this email in response.
Hello. We are sorry that you aren't happy with the bag. The bag shown in the media was a prototype and was too expensive to make. We aren't planning on doing anything about it.
That's the whole email. Staff at Bethesda aren't even hiding their contempt anymore. Naturally, the internet goes wild.
Are you fucking kidding me? Wow. Wow. Well, I got so mad, I shaved everything off my face.
Okay guys, this is a bit of a PR nightmare. We have to quell the outrage. What do? Well, we've got this in-game currency. Let's just give them the minimum amount of that. Fantastic idea. Hear ye, hear ye. Anyone who paid $200 to $300 for the Power Armor Edition is hereby entitled to $5 worth of in-game currency that you'll be able to spend with us. 500 atoms? Fuck yeah! What are you gonna do with your atoms? I'm gonna buy 5/18 of the white paint version of the Power Armor. Whoa! What about you? Light wood laminate, light wood laminate, light wood laminate. Fuck the bag! He's right! Fuck the bag! Light wood laminate, light wood laminate, light wood laminate, light wood laminate, light wood... Of course, this was Bethesda's fantasy of what would happen. What really happened is further outrage, and even the media started piling on.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
It even became part of that class action lawsuit from earlier. Bethesda put out a tweet apologizing for their curt customer service and gave a different excuse for why they didn't make the bags. A shortage of material, apparently. That was quickly debunked. Because it turns out they did make the canvas bag, except they gave them all out to influencers. Oh dear. It's not the same one, of course, but it's sourced from that ever-scarce material, canvas. But what's more amusing is that it turns out there is a canvas bag in the game. If you don the postman's outfit, which of course can be found at the Atom Shop, for 700 atoms. Ooh, just short. Well, the bleating from the online community continued, and Bethesda's lawyers realized there would be trouble, so they decided to capitulate. Alright, fine, we'll make your precious fucking bag. If you want to claim it, you'll have to fill out this form with your name, personal details, address, etc., etc. And we'll ship out the bag to you in 4 to 6 months. But it doesn't quite end there. because Bethesda is known for bugs, and of course their website is a buggy mess too. Turns out all of the customer support inquiries are unsecure and open to the public. In fact, people can open and close and change them at will, listed are details of full legal names, phone numbers, home addresses, and more. If you've requested your canvas bag, you've just been doxxed. Whee! Not knowing how to immediately fix the problem, Bethesda panics and temporarily shuts down the whole website. And that is the tale of the duffel kerfuffle. How could this have been so difficult? They made one for New Vegas. One last piece of merch, a rum drink, Nuka-Cola Dark. Pre-orders available in September. Shipped out on November 14th, $80 plus postage and handling. Not cheap, but in return you got a very cool bootle. Looks good on the shelf. A great conversation piece with the family over Thanksgiving. Or at least it would have been. November 14th came and went, and there was no rum. Okay. A week later on November 21st, an email comes through. There's a delay. Things aren't up to the usual Fallout standard, they say. The usual Fallout standard.
All of this just works.
Things aren't up to the usual Fallout standard. So we'll have it for you soon. No specific date given.
1 week later.
Nothing. Then on December 5th, another email. Good news. We start shipping on December 12th. It's been nearly 3 months since you pre-ordered, but as a show of good faith, we made this promotional video for you. And this is where things went from tardy to retardy. Right there. Did you catch that? That's just a regular industry bottle and a plastic shell. We paid $80 and waited a quarter of a year for a plastic shell? People were not happy. Look at that ratio. Nothing in the marketing said that it was a plastic shell. Super premium, we were promised. And the media agreed. People began cancelling their orders. Silver Screen tries to convince people that it's not cheap and shitty. It actually costs us twice as much to make the plastic one than the glass one. Then what the fuck? We spent 100 hours coding the design. Convincing stuff. So it arrives, just a few days before Christmas. The rum is about the quality you'd expect.
Can I swear on this? It's my own show.
Worse is the design. The oversized lip means liquid can pour inside the shell.
Hard to pour because how they made this damn thing. Spilled like half the shot.
Very dribbly.
So you're best off opening the whole thing up to prevent spilling. If you do that, there's a good chance that you'll snap the flimsy plastic. Any liquid will immediately ruin this cheap paper sticker. Some made their own at home and the quality was about on par. But look, if you do want a decent version of this product, there are reputable sellers of them. They're on Etsy. They're far cheaper, and they actually give a shit. Not gonna lie though, some of the memes that came out of this were pretty good. Now, many claim that this was an honest mistake.
Sorry.
Or that customers were at fault for misinterpreting ambiguous marketing. I disagree. All of the marketing shows other glass items. All of the mock-ups show something more akin to frosted glass than plastic. They give plenty of descriptions of the product too, and not once do they mention plastic. And they were engaged in a bunch of other tomfuckery as well. Before the product was even available, they flooded their own product reviews with a bunch of 5 stars. This raised some eyebrows, and people on Reddit even called them out for it, so they deleted them. You can see all this activity on the Wayback Machine. Now, if they're happy to deceive people in this way, it seems silly to give them the benefit of the doubt about the glass. It's also worth quickly talking about the Bethesda merch store. Some of these items are pretty neat. That's cool. Good idea. I'd have that. Fallout 76 pant. Singular. But why is he so mad? The photography is all just slightly off. This gaudy jacket was mocked relentlessly on social media. But does the 76 in $276 really make it more immersive? And why did they just toss it on the ground? And it comes in this crumpled up toddler body bag. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in merch and you don't have an iron? Why is she wearing the size XXL? She's clearly not happy about it. But who looked at this and said, "Good job, print"? Now that's surprising. And what the fuck? They made the bottle properly. Yeah, one of those please, but bigger and brown. Is that so hard? Let's get back to the game. December 2018. There are 2 new patches released that caused quite a stir. First, the good. For PC, they included a number of quality of life improvements, including push to talk. But it also brought in field of view sliders. Hooray! Increased stash capacity from 400 pounds to 600 pounds, and a small buff to automatic weapons. Hooray! They decreased the carry weight of bobby pins so it no longer took up 10 to 20% of people's inventory.
I got a box of bobby pins the other week that said weigh these.
There were also upgrades to the camp that allowed for easier construction, and a bunch of bug fixes. Hooray! The bad. A whole bunch of unannounced stealth nerfs. They generally made the game grindier. Ammo production was decreased. Fusion cores burnt out faster. Legendary enemies spawned less frequently.
On guard, I'll fuck you up.
And the backlash was significant, because everybody knew why Bethesda was doing it. To encourage people to use the Atomic Shop. And let's talk briefly about that store. Some of the prices are outrageous. A Christmas tree for $12, a Santa outfit for $20, blue and yellow paint for $18. Oh look, $3 for the same sweater vest and slacks item imported from Fallout 4. But the biggest offense of all was the holiday emote bundle. $24 for some Christmas themed emotes, twice the price of these games. The media agreed that these were egregious prices. But worse, they're engaged in some deceiving marketing practices too. Oh look, it's marked down half price. But it's not. It was released half price. They're artificially jacking up the price, only to then give it a fake limited time discount in order to create a sense of urgency. That's illegal, here in Australia at least, in Canada and in the EU. Reddit quickly picked up on this and pointed it out. Bethesda reacted by scrapping the discount and just setting it as the always intended price. Okay, it's been about 25 minutes of whining now, so I'm just going to leave it here. I didn't even get a chance to touch on the new pay-to-win fiasco, the new camera item that lets you teleport, dwindling player numbers. But on the flip side, they're also adding new content and improving the game over time. Heck, No Man's Sky was a surprising comeback. So, maybe Bethesda can do it too. But for now, Todd returns to cryostasis, hiding in his bunker until the bombs of outrage stop falling, and returning only when it's time to get our hopes up once again. CuriosityStream.com/internethistorian
bo ja chyba mam jakieś problemy z sprzętem i nie wiem jak to przełączyć na słuchawki, chyba. Więc nie wiem, słychać mnie? Cokolwiek? Pewnie kupa.
No siema.
Więc jak to jest? Bo ja nic nie słyszę.
No ja już jestem, bo jeszcze mnie nie było na kanale dopiero sobie wbiłem.
Wiesz co, ja ci powiem... aha, bo zaraz co? Że wbiłeś dopiero?
Znaczy wbiłem na kanał tutaj dopiero, na głosowy, bo tam kolega siedzi. Ale on WoWa chyba tnie teraz.
Wiesz co, poczekaj, bo... Nie wiem czemu ja cię w ogóle słyszę na głośnikach zewnętrznych, a nie na słuchawkach takich nausznych, wiesz? Nie wiem, ja mam coś w ogóle nie tak chyba.
Musiałbyś sobie...
Już to zauważyłem wcześniej, chciałem to naprawić.
Musiałbyś sobie w ustawieniach tutaj na dole, tam jak masz ustawienia użytkownika, sobie wchodzisz.
Ale w Discordzie czy w komputerze?
Nie, w Discordzie tutaj.
A gdzie to są ustawienia użytkownika? Tam na dole, tak?
Na samym dole tam ku twojej ikonki.
No tak.
A otworzyć się następne okno, po lewej sobie znajdź głos i wideo.
Moment, głos i wideo. O kurde. A jest, dobra. Tak.
No i teraz jak masz po prawej stronie, będziesz miał urządzenia nagrywania i urządzenia odtwarzania. Wybierz sobie słuchawki w urządzeniach odtwarzania i powinieneś w słuchawkach słyszeć wtedy. Bo tu masz prawdopodobnie wybrane te głośniki.
Halo?
No, jak teraz słychać w słuchawkach?
Chyba słychać.
No to